What do snowy Vermont and sunny St. Lucia have in common? For a handful of UVM students turning classroom learning into real-world service, more than you'd think. We get the story today on Across the Fence. Good afternoon, and thanks for stopping by Across the Fence. I'm Keith Silva, in for Amy Finley. When today's guests boarded a plane for St. Lucia back in early January, they could have guessed how grateful they'd be eventually for all that vitamin D, given the long cold winter we've had. But they weren't thinking about beaches or sunshine down in the Caribbean, at least not primarily. Part of the group from UVM's CDAE department, short for Community Development and Applied Economics, was thinking about the focus that they had for the next 10 days that lay ahead, working to protect sites of historic and ecological importance around this small island nation, including, as you might imagine, several beaches. We're learning about that project today with some guests, Thomas DeSisto, a senior lecturer in UVM, and Jada Gleason, a senior studying green energy and community-centered design, one of the majors available at CDAE. Thomas and Jada, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Keith.
Thomas, let's sort of do a little geography to start off. Where is St. Lucia?
Great question, Keith. So St. Lucia is located in the string of Caribbean islands. So if you think about the Caribbean and the Atlantic, just a few 100 miles north of Venezuela and South America, that's where St. Lucia is located.
Excellent. What is St. Lucia? Is it tropical paradise? What is it?
It is certainly tropical paradise. The former Dean Vogelman of CALS, when I first went into his office, he had a picture of St. Lucia in his office, and I knew we were going to connect well over that. It's a beautiful small island state that gained its independence from the UK in 1979, and is just a wonderful place to work and to visit.
Nice place to spend a couple of weeks, Jada?
Absolutely.
Especially out of the cold?
It was wonderful.
Awesome. What part of this class that you co-teach this class? Tell us about it.
Sure. So I actually first went on this class as a student, as a graduate student. And so when I was on the trip, I never imagined that I would one day be teaching it. It just wasn't even in my thoughts at all. But I just saw what a wonderful partnership and relationship we had. And then so years later, when I, after working for many years, was asked, could I be part of this class again as an instructor, I jumped at the opportunity. I now co-teach the course with Kevin Stapleton, who's a state labor economist, who is a state of Vermont employee who works part-time at the University of Vermont. And I'm always thinking about who will the next group be. So when we take students to St. Lucia, I always think about in 5 or 10 years, will one of these students be the next instructor, and how will this program go on after we have moved on from this?
That's a nice thought. Maybe we're sitting with a future teacher now. How did it come about, and how long has it been going on?
That's great. It's been going on for over 20 years. So it's I think the story of how it came to be is really important. This wasn't something that we sought out. Our former chairperson, Jane Kolodinsky, was at a research conference, an academic conference, and with hundreds of people there, a gentleman from St. Lucia, Philip McLaurin, who's known as sort of the grandfather of consumer protection in St. Lucia, stood up and said, we're this small island developing state. We have lots of consumer needs. We really need help. Is there anyone in the audience that will stand up and work with us? And Dr. Kolodinsky was the person who answered that call. And the two of them sat down together and planned out this mutually beneficial exchange that has resulted in St. Lucian government officials coming to visit us here in Vermont and receive trainings from the Consumer Assistance Program in CALS and from our office on research methods, and has led to hundreds, it's over 300 students over the 20 years going to St. Lucia and actually being able to firsthand try out their different skills, the things that they're learning about at the University of Vermont, try them out in the field in St. Lucia.
Vermont's got lots of small towns, and small towns have lots of challenges. I imagine small island nations have challenges as well. What are those?
There are certainly unique challenges to a small island developing state. They, unlike Vermont, transportation is a serious challenge, right? If you want something in Vermont from a larger metropolitan area, you drive a van or truck or car. To get something across the ocean is a much greater challenge, of course, right? So they just don't have that consumer purchasing power, right, that we see there. I'm always surprised, though, about some of the similarities between Vermont and St. Lucia, although, of course, small island developing state, very different climate. But they do have this mixture of French and English colonialism that we share here, and a similar, they didn't have a revolution to get there, but they also became an independent nation at a certain point. St. Lucia is very heavily focused on agriculture, different types of agriculture, sugar, bananas, fisheries, but they have that agricultural history, and they also have a focus on tourism that I think Vermont has. Again, we're different in that it's oftentimes winter or fall related tourism, but they have that similar tourism. So there are differences, but there are certainly some similarities in places where we really connect well.
What made you sign up for the class, Jada?
Yeah, I was very intrigued by the opportunity to make an impact. I think a lot of the classes I've taken so far prepare me well to make an impact later, but yeah, it was really cool to go there and see the difference that we were making.
What sort of difference did you see?
Especially with my project, we were focused on the historical preservation of Pigeon Point National Landmark. A lot of the park so far is focused on the colonial aspects that were there, the ruins, they have cannons and everything from the wars that they had. And our job was to go and kind of find these landmarks there that were focused on the St. Lucian heritage and try to accentuate those.
Now, there are different tracks, different focuses. What are those focuses that the students are looking at?
Yeah, most recently we have 4 major tracks. This has changed over time. Largely what we're doing is responding to the needs of our community partners. So if they tell us that something new is a priority and something we have been doing is no longer a priority, we shift those things around. So there have been quite a few projects that were done in the past that we no longer do. Today, this current year and in the near future, what we focus on, one is on agriculture, particularly around schools. So we've been working for the last 15 years or so, helping St. Lucian schools develop school gardens and agricultural programs at their school, which is for our students who are focused on food systems and agriculture, a very nice merger of things. And it's also nice for them to think about how they're integrating curriculum. So it's not just the space itself that they're developing, but the curriculum around it. The next thing that we've done for the entirety of our exchange program has been to work with the Consumer Affairs Department in St. Lucia on whatever the hot button topic is for that particular year.
Gotcha.
Some years it will be about change in tax law. Other years it will be about a change or a lack of change in the transportation system. So whatever it is that they're experiencing at that particular time, that's what we're focused on. Most recently, it was around the insurance industry. And so, when we're in Vermont planning for the trip, I know sometimes the students are wondering, will this be something that the folks in St. Lucia are excited or interested in talking about? And we get there and they're really animated and excited.
We're quickly running out of time. The other 2 tracks?
The other 2 things that we're doing are the project Jada was working on, working with the essentially the tourism industry. And then finally, we have a storytelling project that has helped St. Lucians tell the stories that they have to tell, and then has told the stories of our trip.
Perfect segue. For the final deliverable, the storytelling team made an Instagram reel promoting other St. Lucia projects, including the National Trust Project, which Jada worked on. Let's take a look. trees, ocean breezes. Definitely makes me, on a cold, snowy Vermont day, want to be in St. Lucia. Jada, what was the experience like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think being able to go to a different culture and see how they operate, and especially try to help them focus on, the communicating their historical prevalence within Pigeon Point, it was really meaningful.
How did you prepare? We talked a little bit about it before, but how did you personally prepare for the trip?
Yeah, we do have the semester-long class, which obviously made it very helpful. We were aware of everything going in, but the National Trust as well gave us a very detailed guide of all the projects that they would like us to work on. I think they gave us just under 20, and we did complete 10 of them, which was super cool.
Awesome, awesome. Thomas, I wanted to ask you, do you remember what you worked on when you were a student in St. Lucia?
Yes, I worked on a project where we created a resource room at a school, and that's actually what led to the gardening project. It was just this wonderful collaboration, and it was really an amazing experience. And then we looked outside and noticed there was really no agricultural space being used, and we thought we could do something there. The school wanted it. So
excellent. I was just thinking as we were watching the clip, I can hear some of our audience members out there going, what are these kids, must be nice. These kids get to go out to, the Caribbean. Well, it's cold back here, but this isn't a vacation at all. And CDAE does help out in Vermont, right? They're not just going out to the Caribbean.
Two great questions. Yeah, and one of them is really that what isn't seen there is that the students are oftentimes in government offices for many hours of the day working. Another piece also is that for a certain percentage of the students, it's the first time they've ever really left Vermont or the United States and traveled internationally. So that's always been exciting for me, sitting next to a student on the plane ride down there saying this is my first travel thing. And then yes, we have projects and programs that are going on all around the state. I teach a class during the spring semester that focuses on local community initiatives. And we have a fall version of that class as well. So we're definitely working in our neighborhoods and communities here in Vermont.
30 seconds left. The motto of CDAE is, how will you change the world? Jada?
Yeah. I think working within small island developing states was an amazing start. I definitely want to focus on those vulnerable populations that we can help out with, especially being in the Sustainable Innovation MBA program. I think I have a lot of potential to keep spreading the effort.
And we were chatting before we started. You already have a job when you graduate in May, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thomas, Jada, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun to talk with you. That takes care of our show today. I want to thank the crew behind the scenes here. Always a bright ray of sunshine in my day. I'm Keith Silva. This is Across the Fence. Thanks for being part of our family.